Charles Landry, author of several books including The Art of City Making and The Creative City, is a respected thinker in the urban sustainability field. This June he came to the German city of Freiburg, where Intelligent Renewable Energy is based, to talk about and run a workshop on creativity in the urban context. We took this opportunity to talk to him about urban sustainability and his concept of creativity. Landry sees creativity as integral to the concept of sustainability.
Well, in my view it is, and that's partly to do with the way I define creativity, because for me creativity is the capacity or the process by which you stand back, think about things, reflect, and then ideally, of course, make a judgment about it. Sustainability and creativity for me are completely connected. And each period of history has its own, in a sense, priority for creativity. And so the one now is really around, for me at least, the sustainability agenda. I'm agreeing that it's, environmental, economic, social and so on. But for me, the other dimension, the fourth pillar, if you want, is really that cultural sustainability. But also, if there is a culture itself of sustainability, then we're more likely to do the many other behavioural changes that are required. So in that sense, creativity, survival, sustainability are sort of part of one packet.
Many people are concerned that bureaucracy is one of the major barriers to achieving sustainability in cities. This contrasts with Charles Landry's view of bureaucracies as potentially creative and dynamic entities.
Well, all a bureaucracy is an administrative system. And I'm using the word bureaucracy because it sounds negative. But within a bureaucracy are people who are very intelligent, who've got good values and all of that. They want to do well for the world. But quite often, the system within which they operate doesn't allow them to do that. And if you look at organisational structures, bureaucracies, for example, more closely, you often find that they are over-complex. It's really a question about organisational culture. And organisations, of which bureaucracies are organisations, can be simplified. Now, if you're losing your best talent in the bureaucracy, you really have to ask yourself, is that the right way forward? Now, the other reason why bureaucracies need to be creative is there's the cost disease. By definition, public services will become more expensive. So there's an incessant upward pressure on salaries within the public sector. Now, given that, and there's reduction in public sector funding, you are going to have to, by definition, find a different way of organising. And so that's what my project about the creative bureaucracy is like. I don't know the answers to it completely, but when you take a helicopter view, any problem you look at, someone seems to have solved it in some way, somewhere.
Landry has just spent some days in Freiburg, a city that is generally known to be progressive in the field of sustainability. He's somebody who is very used to looking at cities both from the outside and the inside. Does he see a dichotomy in how cities are viewed from different perspectives?
There are certain places that are seen better by the outsider than the insider, and those are the ones that have some sort of resonance. So Freiburg, of course, has acquired a green resonance, and that feeds the yearning that people have to make the world a better place. So when they're judging Freiburg, like all of us, we only see a surface, so we're likely to see it more positively. Not all cities are judged more highly from the outside. There is usually a difference between the inside and the outside. And indeed, if a city sort of in a sense closes itself into you, you may judge it badly as an outsider because you don't really know the detail. But the fact that Freiburg is valued more highly from the outside than perhaps the inside shows, in a sense, that the projection of the city and its greenness is really touching a nerve.
Who better than Charles Landry to ask which city he would rather live in? Here's someone who spends a lot of time looking at cities and trying to define through issues like creativity what is essentially good in a city.
I think once you get over even 800,000, you're beginning to get into a level of complexity which often doesn't quite work. Of course, there are cities that are bigger, that are great. You know, I happen to like Melbourne, I happen to like Amsterdam, which is only 1 million, and so on. So I do like those cities. But there's something about cities which are around 500,000. But I would include Freiburg, which is 220,000. These cities are probably small enough to make it happen, but big enough to be taken seriously. At least they're on some agenda. I mean, I live near Bristol. I like Bristol. I don't think it's as progressive as it should be in relation to the things that Freiburg is known about. But it can make things happen because of its size. And so size, I do think, is very important. And I think the cities that will be leading in the future are in fact likely to be ones that are slightly smaller. Because in the olden days, 100 years ago, size meant importance. Size doesn't necessarily mean importance today. The biggest cities in the world are not the most important cities. They used to be. Now, I think this is even going to go further, that what people are going to be looking for is model cities that answer the questions of humanity. And of course, being green, Freiburg and all of that, at least that's addressing one issue. And of course, we know that Freiburg isn't perfect, that there's a lot it could still do, but at least it's sort of, in general, going in the right direction.
We'd like to thank Charles Landry for taking the time to answer some of our questions. Don't forget to check out the products and services offered on our website, www.intelligent-re.com.